The student would be able to learn about the different stages of Sufi practice, analyze the reality of nafs, and understand the different stages of self. Sufism has been described as a way of knowledge and also as a way of love. Similar to the goal of other spiritual traditions, Sufism helps in making us experience a deeper reality beyond our limited knowledge. This experience leads to knowing and direct contact with the truth. Different stages of Sufi practices and understandings of self from the eyes of Sufism could lead to an in-depth understanding of self as seen and stated by this mystical path.
As discussed earlier, being the pearl of all creation, man possesses an inborn capacity towards good and evil, and thus his higher or low position among creation depends on the way he uses his will. The success of men in this understanding is proportional to his personal success in enhancing his good qualities and at the same time curbing his evil aspects. The merit of a human being becomes evident in this battleground where the good and evil features stake conflicting claims over the control of the person. According to the Sufis, the negative and the positive inclinations that exist in man have two locale or focal points in the animal soul and the lordly soul. The animal soul is a subtle faculty that enables men to stay alive in this world and to keep his biological existence under control. This is also called life or self. Since the animal soul keeps running its basic operations in the human body even while a person is asleep, most of the biological functions in the body are involuntarily carried on during sleep. However, the lordly soul leaves the body during sleep to return to it once again the moment a person wakes up. The animal soul sets the body in motion, makes it speak, and enables it to operate all the other basic bodily functions. The animal soul leaves the body by death. Its location is between the brain and the heart, from where it spreads out to the whole body and undertakes its main operations through the circulating blood. This soul is related to the temporal and created world, Almo il Khalq, and constitutes the starting points of human actions. If untrained, this soul may exercise negative influences over a human being. The lordly soul refers to the human soul which the Almighty had breathed of His Spirit. This quality differentiates a human being from the rest of creation. The lordly soul becomes to the world of unconditioned existence and accompanies the human body so that man may perform good deeds. With the help of this soul, man leads a decent and observant lifestyle in servanthood and obedience. The lordly soul does not perish or disappear with the death of the body, though by death the effect of the lordly soul over the body comes to an end. Man gives directions to his life depending on the exact nature of the battle taking place in his inner dimension between the animal and lordly souls. When the lordly soul wins the battle, man becomes inclined towards good deeds and morality. But when the animal soul takes the control, man becomes inclined towards all kinds of sin and immorality. Man's responsibility for his actions is based on his preferences and decisions between good and evil deeds. Man should continuously keep himself busy with striving for good causes in this world so that he could reach a blissful life in the world to come, as every man shapes his own eternal life in this world and reaps whatever he sows. Depending on the quality of his deeds, each person will attain a pleasant or an unpleasant life in the hereafter. One of the essential conditions of eternal happiness and salvation for man is to mature the lower self or the ego to a proper degree of ripeness so as to accustom it to offering good deeds. An untamed and uncontrolled self cannot take its possessor to the sublime and mystical aims of life. In fact, the self or nafs functions as a two-dimensional vehicle while it has a potential to elevate man's value to the peaks of maturity and make him the pearl of all creation. It might also degrade his value to the lowest of the low. Although the struggle against the lower self or the ego does not kill it, it nevertheless takes it under control. In fact, Sufism does not so much aim at utterly destroying the self as withholding it from transgressing and immunizing it against lowly desires and inclinations. The Sufi way undertakes this operation in accordance with divine instructions. In this regard, Ghazali compares man's position with a rider. The states of the self. Nafs represent an accession of the soul to the highest possible level, peace with God. The soul is meant to transform through the stages. At the lowest level, the nafs has overcome the person. At the highest level, the person overcomes the nafs. Through ritual, contemplation, spiritual practices, ethical imperatives, and religious teachings, the soul can ascend to the highest level of being. In Islam, body and spirit are directly opposed, as spirit is divine and body is of earth. The nafs is the mediator of these two parts where the divine and the worldly come together. The nafs has different levels. The first three comprises of the basic levels that human can attain from the most base to the most divine. According to a classification well known to Sufi circles, in the process of spiritual training and perfection, the human nerves may assume seven types of states and stations. These are first the evil commanding stage, which is also called Nafs al-Mara. The first level of nerves is the Nafs al-Mara, Bisu, the commanding soul. The soul at this level is driven by desires, impulses, fears, appetites, and egos. Islam teaches that most humans exist at this level. The soul at this level seeks to protect its self interest, which is the basis for habitual and addictive behaviors. The soul will seek our satisfaction and justify its actions to satiate basic desires. The self controlled by moods and impulses will even distort reality to ensure the body responds to its demands. This is the lowest level of the soul. The nafs al-mara, imperative, impassionate, or instinctual soul, a source of unbridled motivations or even unrestrained sensuality that vigorously attacked reason, the intellect, that is the criterion for the good. This impels man towards evil, that is, toward a set of morally forbidden intentions, attitudes, and behavior. In many verses of the Quran, the impulsive function of the nafs al-mara could be grasped. This is the lowest and most disobedient state of the human self. It removes a servant from his Lord and incites him to engage in evil activities. The verse Amara means overly commanding. A nerve stuck in this state instably follows carnal and sensual desires. This is a self under the yoke of lust and a friend of Shaitan. It has a strong penchant for following its selfish desires and committing sin. The mark of a person in the state of the evil commanding self is that he inconsiderately follows the selfish and carnal desires of his ego without showing the least resistance. The evil commanding self causes man to undervalue his original merit, making him plummet down from the highest degrees of paradise to the lowest ditches of hell. A person dominated by the evil commanding self is stubborn and conceited even when meeting the means that might take him to his own eternal happiness and salvation. In a way, he finds pleasure in looking down upon people around him, lying, backbiting, and keeping himself busy with cheap and useless things. He cannot safeguard himself from impurity. The number of people dominated by these malicious nerves is quite large. They act heedlessly and ignorantly, preferring the fleeting tastes of the world to the everlasting joys of paradise, and to the indescribable delight of witnessing the Lord's beauty in the world to come. When dominated by the evil commanding self, the rational soul becomes enslaved to the animal soul, and humanly qualities disappear from the scene to leave the stage to animal characteristics. The self-blaming self. Nafs al-lamama. The next stage of being is nafs al-lamama, the blaming soul. At this intermediate stage, the soul experiences inner jihad or struggle. Recognizing a higher reality, the soul seeks to control its impulses and center its consciousness to manage the self. The person can experience inner and active jihad to fulfill the covenant made with God. The self becomes aware of its own imperfections and seeks to improve them to be brought before Allah. The Arabic word "lawm" means to blame or to reapproach. Accordingly, the expression "nafs al-lamama" refers to the nerves which blames and reapproaches itself over its wrongdoing and shortcomings. This type of self is aware of the fact that it does not diligently follow divine instructions, for which he blames himself remorsefully. A person with the self-blaming nerves has effectively repented and protected himself from some of the negatives peculiar to the evil commanding self. This means that his heedlessness and desire for committing sins are less in comparison with the evil commanding self. But still, since his level of spiritual maturity is not yet perfected, he remains vulnerable to the lure of sins. Nafs al-Lamama is the critical soul that disapproves the projects of the Nafs al-Ammara and reapproaches men from his subjection to it. Indeed, the Nafs al-Lamama consists the moral order. It is a version of the divine law that man must constantly take into consideration and to which order and human law must be identified. The guardian soul is always present in the heart of the faithful in his conscience. In addition, this presence is evident. Transgression of the law of the guardian soul signifies regression to the impulsive state, the sinking of moral conscience into denial. A person whose nerves is of a self-blaming nature may protect himself from misconducts only under a spiritual guidance and environment. Although under normal conditions he would not go back to making his previous mistakes. Some immoralities like hatred, jealousy, and self-conceit still lie dormant in the heart, and this keeps the risk ever alive. Under this spiritual guidance, a servant proceeds forth from the self-living nerves to the inspired self. Though rapta, an important method in spiritual training. Here one always remembers his promise to his master to stay away from unlawful things and to observe religious commands. This promise enables him to imagine the spiritual presence of his master at all times, which acts as a medium for him to keep his act together. Constantly calling his self to account, he must remain fixed on his resolution to leave his immoral characteristics and act in repentance. He should then strive to replace these negative character traits with positive ones. For instance, he should replace self conceit and jealousy with humbleness and non envious friendship. He must not seek to single out the mistakes he sees in his friends and indeed keep himself occupied with his own faults. He should remember that a believer is a mirror to his fellow believer, thus should he look at him through an evil eye. He will, of course, see nothing but evil, but looking at him with a good eye, he will see only good qualities. Persistence in remembering the Lord and keeping away from sins are also essential in this station in order to enlighten the heart with the light of divine love. The inspired self, nafs ultimania. By advancing through the evil commanding self and the self blaming nerves, one reaches the inspired self, primarily through repentance, asking the Almighty forgiveness, staying away from sins, and implementing the practices necessitated by spiritual guidance. Nafs al Mutena, calm and balanced soul or ego, is a state of certitude, a state of being without crisis and without worry. This implies realization of the higher stage during the epidemic evolution of inner life. The balanced ego comes into action when the passionate ego, under the careful watch of the blaming ego, has been subjected to the principle of reason, alq. The nafs al-mutamania is thus the highest human potentiality in the hierarchy of the triology of the soul. This ego incarnates the subtle organ of the heart. This heart is receptive to divine truth. The people at this stage have gone beyond the stage of ephileni of the attributes and have arrived at the stage of direct contemplation, mushahada. At this level of elevation, the human and the divine each become the mirror of the other, the sublime place of encounter where they interpenetrate one another while reflecting themselves in one another. Noor Ali Shah, a famous Sufi, designates the soul spirit as the universal soul that is the sovereign of the corporal territory. The soul which sanctions the spirit, that is Ruh, is a luminous spiritual essence. The heart, located at the boundary of the unknown, of the supra-sensible, becomes the transcendent center, the seat of the soul spirit, the spirit radiating through the opening of this heart. According to Noor Ali Shah, this heart is both the mirror that reflects the world and a sea of light at the very depths of which the face of the beloved appears. This soul heart receptive to the infinite is thus the supreme stage of human evolution in which arises the mystic supreme consciousness. On the other hand, if the ego, with possessive instincts, dominates man's internal space, he suffers from deep sadness of the heart, from which arises the impotence of the conscious or critical ego and the impossibility of achieving a state of balance. This inner blinding could be seen as psychological alienation. The tranquil self, nafs al-mulhama. The tranquil self is the type of nafs that has been saved from inner afflictions. The spiritual safety is brought about by an assiduous observing of divine commands and prohibitions. The self has thereby reached a real and steadfast faith which results in a genuine happiness, peace, and tranquility. Through a persistent remembrance of the Lord, the heart has been purified from doubts and uncertainties. It is at ease in a sincere feeling of gratitude for and praise of the Lord. A servant with a tranquil self has effectively replaced his immoralities with positive moral characteristics, having willfully followed Prophet Muhammad's, upon him blessings and peace, exemplary character traits. His heart is now filled with patience, contentment, and trust in the Almighty. The tranquil self belongs to people of piety who have acquired certain knowledge of the Almighty, their hearts continuously busy with divine remembrance. They have furthermore gained a profound comprehension of the inner meaning of religious instructions. The tranquil self is a highly advanced level of spiritual maturity, a precious gift but an enormous responsibility at the same time. To draw a comparison, those whose rational faculty have not come of age cannot be held responsible for fulfilling religious duties insofar as responsibility is dependent upon possessing the faculty of reason. In a similar fashion, a wayfarer newly initiated into a Sufi order is regarded as an innocent child with respect to the greater responsibilities of Sufism. Until he covers a certain distance in his spiritual training, his faults are treated with toleration, since in Sufism spiritual maturity only comes with progress. But after having received a certain level of training, he is considered responsible for things that are not duties ordinary believers need to fulfill. Until he steps inside the door of the tranquil self, and the wayfarer is not responsible for things that are regarded as shortcomings. This responsibility begins only after the point when the wayfarer assumes the tranquil self, since it is here that he attains the maturity. The tranquil self is the self which has reached reality, that is hakikat, peacefulness sakina, and certainty, which is yaqeen. It has become protected from worldly griefs and concerns, and in addition it has received certain spiritual unveilings and inspirations. In the state of the tranquil self, the veils of heedlessness and ignorance over the heart are lifted. At the level of An al Yaqeen, the heart beholds realities beyond appearances. Furthermore, the heart has been made secure from doubts and uncertainties. It has attained a tranquility and peacefulness through a complete submission to the Almighty. It has been seen that the states of the nerves prior to that of the tranquil self do not receive a divine addressing. Only the tranquil self and the states beyond are privileged with this merit. In order for a person to be worthy of this receipt, he needs to genuinely struggle to rein in his ego. The distinct servants who enjoy the state of the tranquil self then gradually begin to move forward towards the three higher spiritual states in line, namely the satisfied self, the satisfying self, and the perfect self, respectively. The more successful a servant is in this progress, the closer he gets to his Lord. The satisfied self, nafs ar radiya. This is the nerves that has persistently kept its focus on the Almighty, and by continuously considering itself to be in divine presence of the Almighty, it has embodied a highly advanced level of piety. The satisfied self is now content and satisfied with his Lord. Not only has it left his personal will aside, it has further annihilated it within divine will. The test and afflictions a satisfied self undergoes are much more difficult to endure than those of the previous spiritual states. For the higher the self ascends, the thornier the path becomes. Only after having overcome the obstacle of the lower self can man can reach a level of spiritual maturity that enables him to meet tribulations with endurance and rest content with him. As great a reward this spiritual maturity is, it only comes at the end of an enormous show of patience and endurance. In the eyes of a believer with a satisfied self, everything in the world deserves the same treatment, regardless of whether it causes joy or grief. Since his heart is detached from the world, worldly pleasures, temporal and pain are on level par to him. With a full fledged insight into the fact that everything really comes from the Almighty, he is content with everything both good and evil. In the spiritual state of the satisfied self, the servant begins to have an insight into divine secrets. He comprehends the meaning of divine oneness, and spiritual realities become unfolded in front of his eyes. He is given the honor of receiving the special disclosures of divine names and attributes. His character becomes an overflowing spring of goodness, beauty, and truth. He is a welcoming observant of divine commands and prohibitions. The ultimate objective is the Almighty alone. The satisfying self, Nafs al Mardiya. The satisfied self is in need of a further spiritual perfection. To receive and fully benefit from all the divine disclosure shone upon its heart, the satisfied self must at the same time seek to become satisfying for the Almighty as well. In other words, being satisfied with the Lord does not sufficate. Also, expected in return is the Lord's satisfaction. The satisfaction must not be one sided and should come from both directions, as it were. Even though the attribute of satisfying refers to the Almighty, it is the servant who is in fact expected to make the efforts to actualize this satisfaction. The nuance makes this quality attributable to the servant himself and thus to his nafs. It could therefore be said that while the satisfied self refers to the spiritual state of those who are content with the Almighty, the satisfying self refers to the Almighty, who in turn is content with them. In the state of the satisfied self, immoral characteristics have by now disappeared, replaced instead by the positive qualities. Those who have reached this spiritual state see all creation through the vantages of affection, mercy, love, generosity, and forgiveness. Since all creation is the artwork of Almighty, wherever they look, they only see goodness. A servant in the state of the satisfying self calls himself to account in the most riveting correct manner and mediates on it. At every breath, he is mindful of the underlying reality of creation and the nature of his own self with an unyielding awareness of its devilish whispers. Also, in the spiritual state, the servant completely submits himself to his Lord under all circumstances. Whatever it be that comes from the Almighty, he welcomes it, knowing it is nothing but a divine manifestation. The perfect self or the pure self. It is also called Nafs al Kamila or Nafs as Safiya. The perfect self is a type of soul that has become thoroughly purified by way of the spiritual process. It is a pure, mature, and sublime nafs. In this spiritual state, the nafs receives all kinds of heavenly secrets. This state is only a gift from the Almighty. Personal efforts cannot guarantee the attainment of the perfect self. It is a God given spiritual quality, a mystery of divine predestination. The station of the perfect self is also called the station of guidance, insofar as the Lord entrusts those who have attained to this state with the responsibility of guiding other people. Their words and actions are rendered influential to facilitate the correction of the wrongdoings and faults of others. When a person with a perfect self meets a sinner, he instantly understands his condition and through an exemplary conduct informs him of the remedies he needs to save him from his inner and spiritual illnesses. Feeling remorseful over his ways, the sinner then comes around to himself and leaves acting heedlessly, so long as his heart is not sealed or locked to spiritual reality.
Now let us summarize what we've learnt in this module. To understand self from Sufi perspective needs a person to appreciate the different practices and perspectives of Sufism. Knowledge of right and wrong, moving towards the inner path of truth, leading towards the truth, and eventually recognizing the truth as the real aim of self, which is to change the self into a good conscience. For Sufism, the real understanding of one's being is to develop it from the most inferior soul to the controlled, calm and peaceful one. Through this journey, there are various situations which lead the human nafs towards higher level of being. Spiritual training could lead the person to conquer these 7 states of nafs, to lose oneself and yet again to gain everything.